The origins of the Sioux tribe date back to the 1600s, where they lived originally around the upper Mississippi River. Their vast area reached from present-day Minnesota to Wisconsin, Iowa, and to the Dakotas. In the 1700s, members of the Sioux tribe started migrating west of the Missouri River. The most western sect of the Sioux migrated to the Black Hills region, which lies in present-day South Dakota. Other members of the Sioux tribe traveled up the Missouri River in the eastern parts of North and South Dakota. The Sioux were named by the French, however they are also referred to as Dakota, Lakota, or Nakota. Sioux roughly translates to small rattlesnake. There are 4 different branches of the Sioux tribe: the Teton, Santee, Yankton, and Yanktonai. The 4 different branches have various similarities and differences. The Teton was the largest of the 4 and were the first to obtain horses. These horses greatly improved their hunting and traveling abilities. While they mostly stayed in the plains, the Tetons followed the buffalo herds and set up camps with teepees. Teepees were ideal for the Teton as they were easy to set up and move. The Yankton and Yanktonai lived around the Missouri River in houses called earth lodges. An earth lodge is a dome-shaped dwelling made out of branches and wood and covered in dirt and soil. The roof kept the lodge well insulated. Around the 1700s, these tribes also obtained horses and hunted buffalo. However, the tribes tended to stay in the same spot for extended periods of time, unlike the Teton. The Santee tribe's villages had houses made out of wood and bark along rivers and lakes. They hunted buffalo, and while they did obtain horses, they didn't use them as much as the other branches. As a whole, the Sioux tribes were renowned for their quilt making. The most famous type of quilt is the Morning Star quilt. The Morning Star quilt is often used during Sioux ceremonies. At funerals, the star quilt is dressed over the casket, and at weddings, the star quilt is given to the newlywed couple. The pattern of the Morning Star quilt symbolizes immortality. The eagle is another holy symbol in the Sioux tribe. Waving an eagle's feather over one's head symbolizes bravery, while waving it over a crowd symbolized happiness and peace. As for religion, the Sioux people believe in the Wankan-Tanka, also known as the grandfather spirit. They believe the Wankan-Tanka created everything in the world, and the sun, sky, and winds were all part of the Great Spirit. The Sioux tribe was notorious for the resistance to change. The Sioux were famous for the Sioux Wars, which were various raids and attacks that lasted from 1850 to 1890. There are many parts of the Sioux Wars, however the most famous are the Grattan Affair, the War for the Black Hills, and the Massacre at Wounded Knee. In 1851, the U.S. government made a treaty with the Sioux that kept any travelers on the Oregon Trail safe. However, 3 years later, in 1854, a group of Mormon travelers lost a cow that had stumbled into a camp of 10 Indians. The Mormons reported that the Teton camp had stolen their cow. The Indians had already killed the cow before they found out it belonged to the Mormons, and they offered to repay them for the accident. However, a lieutenant from nearby Fort Laramie went to the camp and ordered an attack. The chief of the camp, Conquering Bear, was killed in the attack. Crazy Horse, one of the most famous Indian warriors in history, witnessed the death of Conquering Bear, which helps to spawn his hatred for the non-Indian settlers. The War for the Black Hills consisted of one of the most famous battles of the Sioux Wars, the battle at Little Bighorn, also known as Custer's Last Stand. Custer and his men spotted the Indian camp, and instead of waiting for reinforcements, rashly attacked the camp. Custer greatly underestimated his opposition, and the Sioux camp managed to kill over 250 soldiers, including Custer himself. This would be the Sioux' last successful battle. One of the Sioux' most famous warriors, Crazy Horse, would be captured and killed in one of the following battles. Another influential Sioux warrior, Sitting Bull, would be killed at the Massacre of Wounded Knee. The Massacre of Wounded Knee started when the Indians started performing a ritual called the Ghost Dance. Some Indians believed that the world was going to end, and a new world would be born where the soil was fertile and massive herds of buffalo roamed the lands. The Sioux believed that they could inherit this land if they strayed away from the white men traditions and if they performed the Ghost Dance. They could see what the new world would be like. American officials outlawed the Ghost Dance. However, the Sioux continued to perform the ritual. An American general named Nelson Miles feared Sitting Bull, so he ordered him to be arrested. The Indians resisted, and Miles ordered the attack, which killed Sitting Bull and 7 of his companions. Miles then tried to arrest an Indian chief named Bigfoot. However, Bigfoot only wanted to make peace, and Bigfoot led a group of around 300 Indians to another camp. An American detachment met up with Bigfoot's group and tried to disarm a deaf Indian's gun, which accidentally shot off into the air, provoking the American soldiers into open fire, killing women, men, and children alike. It was reported that up to 300 Indians were killed that day, and the event marks the end of the Indian War and virtually destroyed any hope the Sioux ever had. Today, the Sioux has reservations located in South Dakota, North Dakota, Minnesota, Nebraska, and Montana. Most tribes are still practicing their original traditions and still creating classic Sioux arts and crafts, such as the Morning Star quilt and dream catchers. For some tribes, income has come in the form of gambling casinos. Many Sioux Indians have moved to urban areas such as Minneapolis and Denver. Despite this, however, they still practice the original Sioux traditions to remember their ancestors and old way of life. The construction of Mount Rushmore in South Dakota angered many Sioux Indians. This was due to the fact that Mount Rushmore was to be built in the Black Hills region, an area that was sacred to the Sioux. In 2003, various bands of the Sioux came together to form the Black Hills Intertribal Advisory Committee, as well as the National Forest Service, in order to fight for the protection of the land. In 2007, a group of Indians formed the Republic of the Lakota. The Republic of the Lakota wishes to have sovereignty over the area of the United States, which includes thousands of miles in North and South Dakota, Nebraska, Wyoming, and Montana. This area contains all of the Sioux reservations, and even some non-Siouan reservations. The Republic has stated that they are not seceding from the United States, but they are only trying to re-establish the Sioux homeland. As of 2013, the United States government has not recognized the Republic of the Lakota. Crazy Horse was born around 1842 near present-day Rapid City, South Dakota. As a kid, everyone called him Curly. However, in a scrap with a neighboring tribe, Crazy Horse was seen ramming his horse into the enemies, successfully knocking them over their own horse. This is how he adopted the name Crazy Horse. During the War for the Black Hills, Crazy Horse became a fearsome warrior and prominent leader. On June 17, 1876, Crazy Horse, alongside his mate, Sailing Bull, led their troops to battle against General George Crook's force. The Indians successfully managed to drive Crook to surrender. Soon later, on June 20, 1876, Crazy Horse and fellow warrior Gall led the force that would destroy General Custer and virtually wipe out the 7th Cavalry at the Battle of Little Bighorn. However, after the Battle of Wolf Mountain in 1877, Crazy Horse was coaxed into surrendering. He was taken to prison and tried to escape during a small fray. He was stabbed with a bayonet in the back and later died that night, on September 5, 1877. A memorial was created for Crazy Horse in 1998. His head was carved into the mountainside in the Black Hills region of South Dakota, only 17 miles away from Mount Rushmore. The head is 87 feet high. Crazy Horse had a huge impact on the Siouan way of life and will always be remembered for his dedication to protecting his tribe. Another influential member of the Sioux tribe was Henry Standing Bear. Henry was born around 1874 in Pierre, a town alongside the Missouri River. Henry Standing Bear is most famous for his work for the Crazy Horse Memorial. The project actually started in 1948, but didn't finish until 1998. The memorial that Henry Standing Bear helped erect will help teach people about the Sioux tribe and their history, possibly get supporters for Sioux reservations. The Sioux tribe has a long and fascinating history. The culture is still prominent in the South Dakota area and will be remembered throughout history.